Every great creative work stands on the shoulders of giants. Welcome to RetroInspection, where we examine and find out where the things we love today came from.
John Carter is a former Confederate soldier, probably not coincidental.
Well, I want to ask you this, because I
Okay.
didn't see it, but Burrough's father was a Civil War veteran
Yeah,
who lived in Chicago. That would mean he was likely a Union man.
depends on when he got to Chicago,
True.
and also not necessarily, because there was more crossover than people usually think. Geography did not necessarily dictate allegiance in the Civil War.
Right.
So
go ahead with
Carter, Civil War veteran, becomes a miner after the war, goes west, ends up in Arizona, which is when Burroughs was in the military, where he was stationed. Him and his partner find a gold vein. His partner goes off, to file the claim, is killed by natives. Then the natives notice Carter still hanging around, and they come after him. He flees them, ends up in a cave, and in the cave, he is overcome by a gas or a miasma, as they might have termed it at the time, and he passes out after being paralyzed for about 24 hours. And when he wakes up, he finds himself on Mars.
Well, I didn't read it, and maybe I missed it. I didn't read it as a miasma. I read it as exhaustion.
Well, yeah, but there was something that overcame him and paralyzed him that he then also attributed transport to.
Well, in this cave, it's there were artifacts. There was some sort of mummied remains of maybe Native Americans. He never really says, right? And there's this sound. There's like the sound or a feeling of some sort of animal that was hunting him. And it frightens him, right?
Never sees, but yeah, it's something he has, like the perception of being stalked.
Was this could this have been maybe some sort of him alluding to some magic or something like that?
Right. I mean, this whole thing, he very wisely doesn't Star Trek it. He doesn't ever really explain how this works. And there's also
he doesn't put his hands into the intermix chamber and fix the sorry.
So right, we don't really get an explanation of this. You go because
Sorry,
it's like 1911. You just go, yeah, sure. You don't need this,
Yeah.
Kind of like how we never needed to know how Jedis got their powers, but we found it.
The mighty Chlorinians.
The midichlorians, yeah. And I'm not really a Star Wars guy, but to the extent that I am one, keep Star Trek out of it.
What are you going to be defensive?
No, I'm just that's a bugaboo of mine. And like I said, I'm not even really a Star Wars person, but it's just like, gee, we didn't need that. Anyway, digression. So he wakes up on Mars and he's confronted by these 10, 15 foot tall green guys
with how many appendages?
4 arms, 2 legs. But it also turns out that he can kick all their asses, because apparently
and bookmark this, because this is going to go somebody else we talked about.
Yeah.
Namely Jerry Siegel.
Yeah.
And Joe Shuster.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which he eventually comes to presume that he is so much stronger and faster and can jump hundreds of feet in the air is because Earth has heavier gravity than Mars. That is his presumption. And again, sure, good enough. I'm not going to argue with that. I don't, again, I don't really need the explanation. It is for the purposes of the story and for purposes of some of Burroughs's beliefs. He is exemplary on Mars. He is preeminent on Mars. I mean,
you might even say he's a Superman.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid it. But so yeah, I mean, you know, if you stab him, he dies. But the point is that he's so much better than everybody else on Mars. You know, he prevails, and within 3 days of landing, has already, you know, killed a couple of guys, and for the evidence of his valor, has become essentially a war chieftain in the Green Martian Society. And they're you know, they're nomads. They reproduce asexually. Basically, they fertilize eggs and put them in incubation chambers. But there's different tribes of the Green Martians, and as part of their warfare with each other, if one of them finds the incubation chambers of the other ones, they smash all the eggs and you know.
It's a massacre. They massacre them.
Yes.
And if they find them alive, they massacre them. It's quite brutal.
Yeah. So Mars, incidentally, is not called Mars by the people on Mars. It is called Barsoom. And it turns out there are other, you know, other species. There are other sentient species on Barsoom. There are the red Martians. I think at some point, I think there's some others. We're only concerned with the green and the red. And the red are they're much more like humans. And as we find out later, they are capable of reproducing with a human.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I guess I shouldn't ask that question now, because we'll talk about it later. But are the red Martians really red?
Well, they're like,
but they look human, right?
They look more or less human. I think there are some like facial distinctions. Again, you know, they're kind of Star Trekky in that they're pretty much people, but with like some appliances, some contact lenses or whatever. But they also have
they have a few ridges.
They don't have ridges, but you know, like they're redder than you and me. Let's put it that way. But other than that, they are functionally human. And if drawn by Frank Frazetta or you know, Boris Vallejo, they are
buxom.
And well, a lot of hamstring and glute development. If you look at the covers of some of the later paperbacks.
Are you talking about gams?
Boy, am I. Frank and Boris were down with the thickness.
Yes, they were.
Like, subscribe, repost, share everywhere. To see what else we're up to, visit xynobooks.com, xenobooks.com.